and I think in San Francisco as well. And they are joining us to talk about exploring innovation to model, measure, manage, and scale self-sustainable green smart villages. Really interesting work being done by Karsten Popp, who's the CEO and co-founder of Alima Digital Foundry, Marius Murray, the CEO of First National Bank, Fred Platt, the CEO of Nexus, Lings Naidu, the CEO of Beyond COVID, and Bongani Magongo, the CEO of the National Development Agency. And in that panel, we've got 2 AUHF members. So if we can put up the video on the screen, and then when they complete, when the video is completed, there's a live discussion in which I'm pretty sure we'll be able to let you ask some questions so we can have some discussion. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Keisha. And yes, I'm very excited to be participating in this year's African Union Housing Conference, which is held here in Egypt at the same time as the COP27, which is very similar, with a very similar theme, the green future of affordable housing. What a beautiful theme it is for this year's AUHF conference. We're also very, very excited about our panel this year to discuss innovation and scaling of self-sustainable green smart villages, and bringing together such an esteemed panel from the worlds of politics, of technology and banking to address this very key topic in Africa. It's really a great demonstration of industry collaboration to unlock the affordable housing opportunity in Africa. In preparing, we actually found that we all speak the same language these days. We speak the same language of digital, of data, and this really unites us and gives us an opportunity to together address the housing challenge. So we're now going to introduce all of the panel members. I'll start off by introducing myself, and then we'll hand over to the other panel speakers. First of all, my name is Karsten Popp. I'm the CEO of Alima Digital Foundry. We're based in Silicon Valley and in South Africa, and we're really pioneering using newest technologies, the affordable housing and self-sustainable communities for Africa, using the latest state-of-the-art technologies of artificial intelligence, big data, robotics, and latest industrialized construction technologies to address this topic. And now I have the pleasure to introduce our next panel speaker, Mr. Bongani Magongo. Bongani, over to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Bongani Magongo. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the National Development Agency, which is a public agency in South Africa. The theme and the session that we are in is of interest to us because the National Development Agency is mandated to contribute in eradication of poverty and its causes in South Africa. And the reason that we exist is to look at how we can fund sustainable projects that create income and jobs for poor communities, and inclusive of that is the capacity and the capabilities of these poor communities to create for themselves sustainable income. And therefore, when we look at the theme of this year, it becomes a much more useful vehicle to mobilize investment that can sustain livelihood and development in these poor communities.
Yes, thank you very much, Bongani. And I also have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Marius Murray, CEO of FNB Home Loans. Over to you, Marius.
Thanks, Karsten. Yes, I'm a family man. I've got 7 kids, and I'm often reminded about the sustainability of the planet. And remember that kids nowadays have a lot more access to information. So they have quite a hectic discussion with me all the time. So I've been in affordable housing, actually started that in FNB many years ago. And obviously the whole intent there was to create a new marketplace and try and build wealth for people. So we did more than 200,000 homes so far, and it's still a journey to continue. And we're actually very proud of that. We did studies, various studies over the years about the property capital created in these new developments. And it is just amazing to see how people sort of aspire to improve their own quality of life and build more capital. Also, job creation is a big issue, and on site, and even people manufacturing windows and tiles and whatever, there's a lot in the value chain around job creation for these developments. So as our bank, and I think many other banks, we're obviously keen to always explore ways to unlock funding and try and also make markets where we can to assist with that, to unlock further potential. And we estimate just in South Africa alone, the extent of debt capital in existing properties that can't really trade is around 4 trillion rand, a latest estimate. So there's a lot of work to be done, not only for existing property, but also for new ones. And this is where the village design and the thinking around creating sustainable, smart villages is so important. And we really want to participate in the rollout of that across the continent.
Thank you very much, Marius. And I have the pleasure to now introduce Mr. Fred Platt, Executive Chairman of the Nexus Water Alchemy. Over to you, Fred.
Thank you, Carsten, and thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this incredible engagement. My background is I've been in corporate, and most recently I was the CEO of an infrastructure company on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. But at the end of the day, my passion really lies in water and the ability of water to unlock economic activity and to provide dignity to communities. As you will see, water plays a critical role in 10 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and therefore it's a priority investment that unlocks the development and at source. So the bottom line is, the quest that we've been on is how do we look for the available technologies, be it in data, be it in digitization, or the use of distributed ledger, to ensure that previously unbankable projects can be funded, and that can clearly then form the foundation for the developments that we're talking about.
Thank you very much, Fred. And also have the extreme pleasure to announce Mr. Etienne van Wyk. He's the Chief Development Officer of Beyond COVID. Over to you, Etienne.
Thank you very much, Carsten, and thank you once again for the opportunity to participate in this wonderful event and this wonderful discussion with these esteemed colleagues. Beyond COVID is a non-profit organization that was co-founded by myself and Links Naidu, and we are focusing on the unemployment crisis that we currently have in South Africa, with a specific focus on making sure that the SMME sector, which was devastated by the COVID-19 crisis, is actually able to recover in line with the corporate sector. The vehicle that we use to drive this recovery is that we actually organize SMMEs into new entities together with major corporate clients, so that we have an ability to now incorporate SMMEs into the supply chains of various commercial markets. Now, these SMMEs is the lifeblood of many poor communities in South Africa and potentially elsewhere in Africa, and digital technology now enables us to do this organization and run sophisticated operations concurrently with large corporates, which means that we can now position these SMMEs to become part of the supply chains to the smart villages, and also help to reduce the risk profile for investors such as large banks and funds that will be driving these investments. So thank you for the opportunity to contribute, and we look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Etienne. And I think we all agree that there is, looking at the issue from both the political, the financial, as well as the technology side, gives us an opportunity to potentially advance things in a very positive way. So over to the next part, which is looking at our theme, innovation and scaling of self-sustainable smart villages. On the right, you have a number of elements that are part of a village, from the logistics to the educational side to the structured commercial side, but really covering the infrastructure, the interconnectivity, and the village economy. Infrastructure are things like utilities, water that you've heard, or energy, electricity. Interconnectivity, so important to be able to work or to walk to work. The broadband today, Wi-Fi establishment is fundamental as part of these self-sustainable smart villages. And then the village economy, things like we spoke of, the local jobs, the platform cooperatives, or value-added light home industries. All of this today is doable from a digital and data perspective, to model things before they get built, to measure things when they are built, and to manage the sustainable smart villages going forward. So this really is a fascinating topic, and you now have the opportunity to listen to each panel speaker, how they would address this specific self-sustainable smart village and their activities. So over to you, Bongani.
Thank you, Kirsten, and everyone. I think what I'm going to just quickly talk about is the opportunities and the challenges in South Africa, which provide, I think, a big opportunity for creating and investing in sustainable smart investment within the village communities, or poor communities as we describe it in South Africa. There are a couple of things that they really open the gates for doing that. One, South Africa has a very high unemployment rate, which is mainly made of young people. That's the people that are below the age of 35. That's one endowment that we can quickly turn it around into the vehicle that can move from the traditional construction of villages into smart villages, given investment. The second one is the actual backlog, the country struggling to keep up with the demand. And for the country to deal with the high demand, we need data technology and innovation, and move away from the traditional design of a community and structures that are in the community, including the actual outlook of the infrastructure. And partly, we have a huge problem of access, just access to food, access to water, access to a number of things, which all of them, in order for us to deal with that, we need to shift. We need to shift from planning based on what we see, but plan based on what information available that can assist communities to make the right decision, create an environment within which they can participate in the economy effectively, and produce adaptive policies that can support the development of that. I think if we start to look at how do we create a mechanism for dealing with some of the challenges that I have raised, we've got to get to a platform that can attract a private capital.
Yes.
Because private capital has got the ability to adapt to both new policies, innovations. They've got the ability to adapt to local demands and local interests, as long as they're informed by the communities, because then that becomes a commitment. Investing in construction more especially low-cost housing schemes. And the demand versus the ability to deliver. I think it can benefit very much from technology. In other words, we must think of how we construct these houses. And we must think how we get private investment participating. This is the same when you look on agriculture. Any community that doesn't have the ability to create their own sustainable livelihood, which is food is the basic one.
Yes.
And all of these communities around have got the infrastructure to actually make their own food, make their own businesses within the agro processing. And when you implement that using those mechanisms, you actually deal with climate change challenges, because all of this will reduce the carbon emission, and it will reduce the problem that causes a climate change. It's not just only fossil fuels, but it's how we manage our environment and our surroundings. So it is important to have the information, have project designed in a manner within which are supportive to local needs, using local material, and the ability of the government's policies to adapt to these changes and invite private investment into this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bongani, and very, very relevant to our theme. Thank you very much. We'll now hand over to Marius to discuss a little bit from the F&B point of view. Marius.
Thank you, Carsten. Yeah, so we've been involved in quite a bit of affordable housing developments. And on the left, one can see that picture of how it normally would look. It's still like that, and I'm aware that there could be property developers also attending this. But still, it's sort of a sprawl thing. There are a lot of sort of block housing